Welcome to our podcast session on sprints within the Agile and Scrum framework. Sprints, as you know, are the heartbeat of Scrum. Those time-boxed mini projects where a team creates a done, usable, and potentially releasable product increment.
I'm excited to dig into this. So, what's the essence of a sprint in Scrum?
Right, well, a sprint is essentially a short, fixed period, typically 1 to 4 weeks, where the Scrum team commits to completing a set of work that's been planned. It's like transforming a long project into smaller, manageable
Got
chunks
it.
that can deliver real progress.
And when we say it's time boxed, what exactly does that imply?
Time boxing is fundamental. It means that every sprint has a strict start and end date, so you can't extend it. This forces the team to only pick tasks they are confident they can finish in that period, which naturally limits unfinished work or work in progress.
Yes, that makes sense. So, by having a fixed time frame, you inherently cap the amount of unfinished tasks piling up. That's clever.
Exactly. It pushes the team to focus on priorities. Not having endless time means you need to select the most important functionalities first. Plus, it ensures that every sprint produces a clear increment of progress. The work completed is clearly visible and ideally demoable.
Right, that kind of feedback loop is essential. Speaking of feedback loops, how do sprints help with demonstrating real progress over traditional project management approaches?
Well, in traditional project management, you might have lengthy phases where progress is only seen in the final delivery. But with sprints at the end of each cycle, you showcase what's been achieved. It's like a mini review session. This early demonstration of work not only motivates the team, but also allows for quicker feedback, enabling course corrections before problems
Yep, early
snowball.
wins are motivating. I like that. And what about managing scope creep, or as some call it, gold plating? How do sprints deal with that?
Great question. Sprints have a fixed goal, and once the sprint begins, no major goal altering changes are allowed. Minor tweaks based on feedback may slip in, but nothing substantial. This keeps the team from trying to over deliver or add extra features that weren't
Right,
planned.
keeping the focus sharp. But doesn't that sometimes feel restrictive? I mean, what if mid sprint you think a major change could really enhance the product?
That's a valid point. While minor improvements are welcome, significant changes can derail the sprint's goal. In fact, it's often advised that any big changes, like, say, incorporating fingerprint scanning into a login feature, be parked for a future sprint. It keeps the sprint's objectives intact.
I see, it's a balancing act. Interesting. And what happens if an unexpected issue arises during the sprint, like a critical production bug?
In such scenarios, the team must address the issue immediately. It might require adjusting the sprint goal, maybe scaling it down from both login and registration to just one. And if the situation renders the sprint goal completely obsolete, the product owner might even cancel the sprint altogether.
Wow, canceling a sprint sounds drastic. So, cancellation is essentially a last resort, right? Reserved for when continuing would be pointless.
Exactly, it's a serious decision. Cancellation can impact budgets and timelines significantly, so it's only done when the current work no longer delivers value, often because market conditions or requirements have shifted.
Right, that checks out. Now, let's talk about the sprint duration. Why do teams stick to such short intervals rather than longer periods?
With a short duration, say 1 to 4 weeks, planning becomes much more manageable. Imagine trying to predict a project's needs 6 months out versus focusing on just the next couple weeks. It creates a predictable rhythm, like a heartbeat, ensuring that there's continual progress and regular checkpoints.
Yeah, that kind of consistency is key. And what about consistency and duration? Why is that important?
Consistent duration means every sprint in a project lasts the same number of weeks. This regularity helps the team settle into a cadence, ensuring that each sprint's story, points, and workload remain predictable. Imagine if sprint lengths varied wildly. It'd
Absolutely.
be
Consistency
a
avoids
planning
unnecessary
nightmare.
chaos. That steady cadence definitely fosters a more reliable workflow. But what about practical issues like holidays? How do those factor into sprint planning?
Even if a public holiday falls within a sprint, the sprint itself remains time boxed to the calendar. The team plans for fewer working days, but the sprint duration doesn't extend. This encourages realistic planning and helps in maintaining predictable
That's
outcomes.
pretty smart, actually. It ensures that expectations are met regardless of unexpected breaks in the schedule. Makes sense. And there's also the motivational aspect you mentioned earlier, right?
Exactly. A fixed deadline pushes the team to resolve issues swiftly. Think of it like cooking against a timer. You're forced to prioritize and streamline so you don't fumble around too long.
Love that analogy. Yeah, it really forces efficiency and prevents tasks from dragging on ad infinitum.
Absolutely. And another major benefit is that every sprint gives you a potentially releasable increment. Even if you don't push the feature to production immediately, you know it exists in a verifiable state. That's a huge win over traditional methodologies, where you might only see a final product after months.
Right on, that continuous validation makes all the difference. That leads us to another cornerstone, the daily Scrum and Sprint review checkpoints, right?
Yes, each day has a quick stand up meeting, the daily scrum, to inspect progress and adapt plans on the fly. And at the end of the sprint review and sprint retrospective help engaging what went right or wrong. These reflective steps are essential for continual improvement.
Those retrospectives can really open your eyes to hidden opportunities. Speaking of inspection, some critics might say that strict time boxing could pressure teams to, cut corners. What do you think about that?
That's a fair critique. However, the definition of done within Scrum ensures quality isn't compromised. Yes, there's the pressure of a deadline, but built in quality checks and the retrospective meetings help maintain standards. It's like a self correcting mechanism. You're encouraged to work efficiently without sacrificing the end result.
I get that, but there's always a risk, isn't there? Exactly. The potential risk of cutting corners is real. But when teams adhere to the agreed quality metrics and, yeah, use retrospectives to consistently improve, that risk can be mitigated.
Right, it's about balancing speed with quality. The iterative nature means you can fix mistakes in the next sprint rather than letting them accumulate over months.
That's a huge advantage over more traditional waterfall approaches. Given all these factors, would you say that the sprint is the secret sauce of agile development?
Oh, absolutely. Sprints turn massive projects into bite sized, manageable pieces while maintaining a laser focus on delivering value. It's like breaking a mountain into small, climbable hills instead of staring at one insurmountable peak.
I love that imagery. It really brings the concept to life. And that visual really captures why regular short cycles work better. It's not just about finishing tasks, but about continuous insight and improvement.
Exactly. And that continuous loop of planning, doing, reviewing, and adapting is what creates an empowered, responsive team. It's the whole agile mindset in action.
Absolutely, it's a dynamic ecosystem of constant learning. So it's safe to say that sprints in Scrum are not merely a scheduling tool, but a holistic approach that shapes the entire development process.
Precisely. Sprints instill discipline through time boxing, enforce prioritization, reduce unclear work, and drive rapid feedback. They're a fundamental pillar of agile methodologies that, when executed well, set teams
Yes,
up for
indeed.
success.
Well, that was an enriching discussion. It's fascinating how such a structured approach can foster creative and efficient work environments.
Absolutely. The structure of sprints brings order to chaos, ensuring continuous delivery of value while keeping the team agile and adaptive. And that iterative, incremental progress is what keeps products evolving successfully.
Exactly, it's all about evolution and improvement. Thanks for breaking that down so clearly. Every sprint really does matter in shaping not just the project, but the way the team thinks and works.
True. And remember, every sprint is an opportunity to measure progress, adjust strategies, and reinforce the agile mindset. It's this cycle that propels projects forward.
I'm with you on that. And with that, it's clear that sprinting isn't just about speed, but also about strategic pacing and continuous improvement.
Exactly. It's the balance between setting a clear goal and being flexible enough to adapt based on real world feedback, a constant interplay of structure and creativity.
Yes, that blend is where the magic happens. So, to wrap it up, sprints are the small yet mighty segments that, when combined, build the foundation of successful agile projects.
Precisely. By keeping the work focused, time-boxed, and regularly reviewed, sprints ensure that even if challenges arise, the team can quickly course correct and come back stronger.
Couldn't agree more. Awesome discussion. It really underscores how sprints transform big projects into iterative wins, fostering an environment of transparency, accountability, and constant innovation.
Yep, and it's this cycle of planning, doing, checking, and adapting that makes Agile such a powerful methodology for today's dynamic development needs.
Right on, that continuous loop is a game changer. Thanks for joining this chat. It's been a fantastic deep dive into the inner workings of sprinting in Scrum.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep those sprints short, focused, and full of learning. Stay agile, everyone.